You know, I don't think Americans are ready for this at all. I think most Americans think everything is going to go back to normal. Most people are not truly prepared, and those who are prepared in America are not going to have the ability to take care of those who aren't, because they have already stocked up. They already are getting rice. They already have beans. They already have water. They already have gas. I know we were like that when we lived in America. We were very much pro get ready for what's about to happen because we knew America had enemies. But I think this weekend caught a lot of people off guard. And I just have one question. Is it to the point now where you're like, I either have to prepare or I have to flee America? Now, we knew something like this would happen way back in 2019, 2020, even prior to that, like 2015. But we were like, okay, we could stock up on a lot of things. We could just have all this ammunition and all these things, or we could just exit America altogether in favor of Africa. Why Africa? Africa in particular, because Africa is one of those places that gets forgotten about in world wars. Now, they may take troops and volunteers out of a Senegal, a Kenya, a Tanzania, a Ghana, but at the end of the day, in world wars, Africa is not target practice. The continent easily gets forgotten about because it's not Germany, it's not the UK, it's not the US, it's not all of these countries, it's not China, it's not North Korea, it's not all of these countries that would either be target practice for America, or on the flip side, America is target practice for those countries. That's why the whole even going to Asia thing is a little dangerous right now, because in the event of nuclear warfare, Asia is not in the clear unless you're in New Zealand or Australia. And so this is why I'm like, man, I don't think Americans are even ready for what's happening. I think a lot of people didn't have passports yet. A lot of people, you could still apply for them this week, I'm thinking, right? Can't you still apply this week? I think you could. I think you could be one of the last people out. But it's giving COVID-19 lockdown ramped up, because during C19, it took place over 3 years, and it seemed like you had December where it was like, oh, the Wuhan, January where it was like, oh, it's coming, and then February is like, oh, we might lock down in March. I think they locked down the last day of February 2020, and then it was like lockdown. So we could not get our son's passport. Our third child, which is one of our boys, we could not get his passport, so we were stranded in America because we really at that time wanted to head over towards Ghana. It's like a whole story. I'll probably just tell it right now and weave it in with this story because it's so relevant. So we had to wait March, April, May, June. We were ready to definitely go by May, but the passport didn't come for our son in 2020 until July. It took like 4 to 5 months during COVID. And so this time, I'm telling you, I see the signs. A lot of you see the signs as well, because a lot of us who survived C19, a lot of us who had wisdom and insight this time, and we were telling people, do not get that thing, do not cover your mouth for 50,000 years. Like, you have to be able to breathe oxygen if you're outside. If you're outside, that's just goofy, right? If you're in healthcare, obviously, and you go into a sick patient's room, cover your mouth, that's fine, but don't do that just out in the world. That's not how microbiology works. And so you got ridiculed back then. You got ridiculed for, no, you have to have this mask if you want to go to Panera Bread, if you want to go down the street. But the same thing is happening again on a different front. Americans are ridiculing those who have already left abroad. Don't forget the fact that we did a video last week before all of this jumped off. This is why you should binge our channel. If you have not already, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. But we did a channel about how over 200,000 Americans have left America, mostly for the United Kingdom and Spain and France. And so they'll be residing in those territories, or they could slowly start to move to Eastern Europe if that's what they wanted to do, because it's very simple to travel throughout Europe once you're on the continent. And so even those people, if they decide, hey, it's crazy over here, I want to move down to Africa, so be it, they could do that, because it's not as far. America is so geographically far out that it is a level of protection from a China, from a Russia, from Iran, but it's also a level of, man, if I'm trapped here, I'm just kind of trapped in the Americas, because remember, President Donald Trump has a wall. So you're not just easily crossing down to Mexico. I guess you could cross over to Canada, but who really wants to be in the cold for that long trying to cross a border? So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind as an American. Also keeping in mind, when and if you do go abroad, do not be uppity. Do not just be like, oh, the American way, and just, oh, like, be humble. These are times where people are dying. There are explosions happening. If you didn't hear about what happened in Saudi Arabia, if you didn't hear the fact the United Kingdom said that they are going to enter the war, they didn't say they were thinking about it. They said they are going to enter the war, which tells us there's only a small window of time before even London flights are blocked. Now, Spain said that they would not be entering the war. They said they do not support the war. And so you have this mixed multitude in Europe that's kind of, some side with Iran, some side with America and Israel, and they're all own individual discretions, okay? And that's their prerogative. They have the ability to do that. But travel is not going to be a thing similar to how it was in COVID-19, unless you want to be the only one in the airport. No shame, because we were the only ones in the airport at one time during that time period. And it's fine. Like, you be the only one, it's cool. Like, it's absolutely fine. Like, just go to whatever country's open, get out in the way that you can if you do not want to have the impact that's going to happen in the States, because the impact is already being felt in Austin, Texas, because here are the levels of warfare that Iran is prepared to distribute to America. By the way, their current leader, they have a new current leader who's functioning as leadership for the country. He just watched his mother die in his face, his father in his face. Because remember, when they annihilated the Ayatollah that was this weekend, that was just alive, when they annihilated him, they took out 40 leadership members because everybody was having some kind of meeting, maybe something for Ramadan, maybe they were fasting, whatever. So when those missiles hit and these strikes hit, they took out his mom, his dad, his daughter, his friends, his leadership, like his 1-year-old daughter. So this man is not probably in the right frame of mind. This man is probably very vengeance and rage filled, because it's not like they just passed away in an earthquake, right? It's not like they were just like, oh, it's not like they spared the young daughter or anything. It's not, none of that was taken into consideration. And so he is probably very vengeful. He's probably very angry, and he has already expressed to President Donald Trump and the Americas and the Europeans and the Asians, because Iran feels like they are backed in a corner, which is why they are blazing everybody up. 14 different countries across the Middle East, they are setting ablaze. Literally, these places are on fire. Don't let anybody tell you different. Saudi Arabia had already been struck, but they struck them again just in the last couple of hours. They struck Riyadh, which is like a prominent place in Saudi Arabia, and it's really hitting the news really big right now. And so Iran is like backed against the wall. They're like, let's just nuke everything, not nuke, I should say, missile everything. They haven't done any nuclear warfare yet. But they also said that Americans are not safe in their homes. They're saying when we target America, we're not going for the military base. They said, you're not going to be safe in your home. They said, we don't care if it's a large crowd of people. We don't care if it's the White House. They're going to target different cities in America. And step one is get these sleeper cells awake and start causing havoc on the ground and confusion. Step two is, okay, let's cause more confusion, keep bombing territories, not just in the Middle East, because it's not contained to the Middle East anymore. They have now let missiles touch Europe. This is why the United Kingdom was so adamant about getting involved. We'll do a video on it later and include some of those clips, because we'll just have to talk about that later. It's pretty in-depth. And so Cyprus is an island nation on the Mediterranean, but it's in Europe. They have a great digital nomad visa, but you don't want to be a digital nomad over there. And the UK is like, that was our base, that was our embassy, that was actually our territory that we had inside of Cyprus. That is still European territory, but it's a different country. And so they took that personal. when Iran hit that area just yesterday. Yesterday is when it happened, and so the United Kingdom gave a shout out or like a news message to their people saying we have to get involved because Iran has involved us. They didn't say U.S. and Israel have involved us. Their words were Iran decided to do this to Cyprus, to whatever institutions that we had in Cyprus. And so we have to retaliate now because this is going to get worse. And we stand by America, and we stand by Israel, and we stand by our allies in the Middle East, meaning that they would potentially see it as beneficial to protect and stand up for Saudi Arabia, to protect and stand up for Kuwait. By the way, if you did not know, yesterday in Kuwait, this is why Americans, those who don't watch the news, you should at least just pay attention for right now so that you understand where is safe, where is not safe, if you're safe, all of those wonderful things. Because Kuwait, the American military was over there, but their Air Force fighters were basically shot down in friendly fire, meaning Kuwait's military, Air Force, shot them down in friendly fire. And I saw the video and it was quite disturbing. I was just like, how does that even happen? I'm sure mistakes can happen. And what a lot of Americans also don't realize is you are exporting these AI systems, you're exporting this technology to the Middle East, to countries, maybe Eastern Europe. You're transporting this technology to countries that don't understand it. I keep telling people, because I've lived in Africa for 6 years, American technology is so advanced. Number one, that's why the full digital ID super surveillance system cannot happen in a continent like Africa, in certain places in the Middle East, because you don't understand that America has surpassed technologically a lot of these civilizations, especially with the rise of AI. But there was already a gap prior to 2022 and the huge rise of AI and standardization of AI across the board. And so you have countries that don't know how to use these technologies. They don't know how to use this stuff. You want to export this stuff, you tell them, well, you guys make sure that your defense systems are up because we just gave you this. And they're like, we don't even know how to use it. But you as an American, you're thinking, well, everybody knows how to use it because everybody in America knows how to use it. That's not what it's like on the outside world, especially in the Islamic world, especially in worlds where it's like they're not even paying attention to this stuff. Like if you were going to try to teach this to people in Sri Lanka, like everybody would not understand it. And so there is also that aspect of a lot of the chaos could just be accidental chaos due to a lack of training, because clearly nobody sat down and trained with these 14 countries that are now in this war or have now been shot at by Iran. Of course, maybe they didn't know Iran would do that to the 14 countries, but even I can tell just Iranians, they're not like set it and forget it people. They're not really the type to be super forgiving. Like if you push them against a wall, they're going to strike back, and they're going to do it in a big way, whether Russia and China are helping or not. Now, Russia and China have their own set of issues I want to talk about. Now, Russia and China have not been the loudest, but Russia and China both sent in equipment to Iran. I watched a documentary on it. It was so interesting. It was one of those like robotic AI Chinese guys that does like, it was really good information though. But Russia and China sent military equipment to Iran prior to the unalivement of the Ayatollah who is in power. They sent this military equipment over, and now they're wondering, how is he not able to survive the attack? Because their systems were supposed to be able to catch super quick flight fighter jets from both Israel and America to protect the airspace. So it's not that Iran did not have help. They sent military equipment, but it's either that the military equipment malfunctioned or there was a mole very high in the Iranian government that they do not want to talk about. They're saying that it's probably the latter, like he had somebody very, very, very super high up, because remember, you gotta be super high up, very close to him, that was a mole and basically disabled these systems from working. Okay, this is information that's just out there that you can look up, you can look it up and you'll find it, and this is what they're saying. So this is why Russia and China have been so quiet. This makes sense because Russia and China are like, if they had a mole and they're Iran, then we need to check and see if we have moles before we just go to war with America and somebody just basically gets over on us and gives us away and stuff of that nature. And so that's what's happening in the world today. That's why Americans should care about what's happening, but it's also giving you a little bit of leeway to where, again, if you want to leave America, leave today, tomorrow, the next day. Pack your bags. You don't need a lot. Just leave. Figure out how to sell stuff through power of attorney later. It's very simple in the age of technology to get on Rocket Lawyer, to get online, and you have family, you have friends. Just get out, because you getting out and being obedient to that call may save the next nieces, nephews, cousins, whoever it is that's going to come after you. But somebody has to be the one to take that first step. That's what you should know as an American. That's what you should know as somebody in the UK that wants to leave, as a Westerner. Come to the continent of Africa while it's still open. Africa itself, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, have already put out alerts to their citizens telling them that they need to get out of the Middle East. Okay? That's what's going on. That's the state of the world today on day 4 of worldwide war, because this is worldwide war. America's involved. Israel's involved. The United Kingdom's involved. Iran's involved. All the folks are involved. 14 nations in the Middle East region are involved in West Asia. And so the definition that we learned in school of world war is like when 3 or more nations are at war. And that's what's going on right now. So shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video. Stay discerning, stay prayed up, and make your next move your best move.